Healing through art is still uncharted waters for many South Africans when it comes to considering options for therapy and counselling. If I had to guess, for most of us, play therapy for children is probably our closest reference, simply because healing through art almost sounds like playing. Today, I'm talking to Lorette Dye, founder of the Art Healing Academy in South Africa. Lorette has published many books. She's a counselor with training in psychology and art therapy, a lecturer and a missionary with training in theology. In today's show, we will answer many of the questions that you might have when you hear the words art therapies as a study field and in going to a counselor to receive healing through this approach. I trust you will enjoy today's show. Lorette, welcome on the chat box. We're so pleased to have you. Thank you for making time for us and to chat to everyone that's interested in art and arts therapies specifically. So let's dig in. What is arts therapies counselling? Is there really a need for it, and who can benefit from it?
Hi, Mazan. Thank you for this opportunity. It is wonderful to meet you, and it's really wonderful to be here. Now, I know it's a new field in South Africa, so a lot of people don't know what it is or how it works. Arts therapies counselling is when you use art as your modality to lead people or help people to self-growth, self-development, and also to healing. I absolutely, when you talk about need, believe that there is such a big need. There's different reasons for that. First, or one of the reasons are that if we, for example, think or talk about psychology, I think what people don't understand is that it is a very specific approach. It's a specific way that they look at people through a specific framework. And it might be, and it's possibly good for certain situations and certain people, but we work with a variety of people. Every person is different. And we work with many different situations that people are faced with and have to deal with. It really isn't, let's say it as it is. Sometimes life is hard. Maybe you're the kind of person that the psychological approach will not work. Or maybe you need something beside that. Maybe you need more. And arts therapies is a very specific approach, and I'm going to shortly explain that to you. When we use art as our modality towards healing, towards growth, art is, and arts therapies is an emotive somatic approach. That means that it connects with you on an emotional level and on a feel level. That is compared to when you try to help people or help people on a cognitive level through words. Now, I think most people understand that words has limitations. But art is a different way of expressing yourself. Another thing that is interesting is that the same place in your brain that is activated through art is the area in your brain where trauma is stored. And that, once you understand that, you understand why arts therapies counseling and arts therapies can be so powerful. That's why a emotive somatic approach is so necessary, because a lot of people struggle with old things, with old baggage that were like a trauma to them, and it's still there. They don't know how to work through it, and they talk about it, and words can only go that far. We talk, and then we start to feel, can I say the same thing over and over and over again? And you realize, but people don't want to listen anymore, and I'm just going in circles. It's because words are sometimes not enough. And that is where a modality like art can come in. It can do something completely different. It enable something completely new. I think you also asked me about the benefits. Now, one of the things that I think I want to mention is that it's non-threatening. A second thing is that it gives power to that person. So maybe you've been through something, maybe you're struggling with something, maybe you just don't understand yourself or understand exactly what you're feeling. Then arts therapies enable a situation where there's no pressure. You get the control. Another aspect in terms of the benefits is that it will bring out things that maybe suppressed, maybe you didn't even realize. And by making it concrete, you can look at it. I had so many people that went through this process, looked at what they've done, and something, and somehow something just clicked. They understood something in that moment that they didn't understand before. I will give you an example of this. Very simple exercise. I asked one of my clients to draw her family. And when she was done, she looked at it and she was puzzled. She said, why did I do this? Here's my family. Everyone that is here, and here is a grave.
Here is
And then a grave.
Oh, grave, yeah.
Yes. And then looking at it, she realized that the baby, the miscarriage she had, baby she lost through miscarriage, she still saw as part of her family, even although it happened 10 years ago. And it was just that understanding something that is already inside of her. She didn't have that full understanding. And it just opened something up for her. Why does she constantly go back? Why is she constantly looking at baby stuff? She doesn't want another baby. She has a big family. She has, I think she had 4 children. And it was just that almost unresolved thing that she didn't acknowledge as this baby is also part of my family. Kind of continue to niggle at her.
Sure, that is amazing. Wow, yeah, I get what you're saying. So, by the sounds of it, would you say that arts therapies counselling, is it for all age groups, men, women? What would you say?
That's a very important question, Mazan. And we find, because it's a new field, people don't understand it. So a lot of people assume it is for children. Yes, we do use it with children, but we more often use it with adults. We use it with teenagers, we use it with adults, we use it with individuals, we use it in groups, we even use it in corporate situations. So there's many different applications. And if an adult feels stuck, if an adult feel they don't have the words, if they don't necessarily want to talk about what they feel with somebody, then we find that it has so many benefits and it's so amazing. And once you understand the power of arts therapies, my students, once they work through their studies and had experientials, they start working with clients. Through that, they see the power. I always get the feedback that they can never turn away and try something else again. Once you understand the power, it just opens a whole new world for you.
Wow. Does it have a Christian foundation?
I personally love God. And I started studies and this in South Africa because God told me to. And I know it's his heart and I know it's important to him. And I have so many students that say to me, the other day, a week ago, I had 3 people that said it to me in one day. That say to me they are following this, they are doing the studies because God told them to. So I know there's a godly movement, there's a godly calling on this field in this moment. but the studies per se is not Christian-based. So what my students do, they get knowledge, they do the studies, but then most of them, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, work in the field. So for me, it's just amazing to see. And I just think we need both. You know, we need the knowledge. We need to know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how to understand it. But we also need to do it with God's hand in ours, you know, or our hand in His is probably the right way around.
Sounds like it's because it's you started this and you it's under your leadership, yeah, that it has a Christian foundation, but it almost sounds like it's non-confrontational. So a non-believer, for example, could come to you or to arts therapists, and then would receive what they need to receive without feeling okay, I can't, being closed up, and I can't get the information and the healing because I'm being indoctrinated. And I think that is such an amazing thing, because I think oftentimes we assign certain things or certain fields, or we need certain symbols, like we've said before in our conversation before we started, to make something Christian. But God and the Holy Spirit can work through things and minister to people without us necessarily having to speak Jesus all the time.
You actually make me think of something while you're talking, Mazan, and that is that what I learned in my relationship with God is that there was a time that I said to him, just tell me and I will do things. And to be honest, at some point he said to me, cut your hair on your shoulders. And I was like, not there. And no, you know, and I just, you know, I was kind of negotiating with God. And then he said, okay, you've got that amount of leniency. And then I went over that because I was kind of pushing that boundary. After that, at some point, I realized, what am I doing? Why is this such a big thing? Just cut your hair. Just do it. You know, God knows best. And he taught me. Even if I think, he just tell me, I will listen. No, we are complex beings and we are difficult beings. And God knows that. Whatever he changes in us, he does through a process. He does it in such a kind way. And sometimes that process is hard and we don't understand it. He works in a process because he understands us better than we understand ourselves. And that said, that is one of the beautiful and amazing things of arts therapies. And that is that it is a process. It's not words where someone tell you what to do. It's not words where someone tell you what choice to make, what to do differently. It is a process where there's a shift inside of you. And I think that is why it's such a godly thing. Because we don't need to tell people. We need to enable a process that is aligned with how we as human beings are, and that God can work in. And he can be the one in that process and move something in people. And in that sense, yes, we don't need to say to people that there's a time and a place to say Jesus is your savior. But sometimes we just need to enable that process where God can work in someone, and then, you know, maybe in the right time, bring his love, show his love, but maybe even then tell about his love. All those things become possible through this process that we go into when we use art as healing.
Amen to that. You've mentioned one example in one of my earlier questions to you, but I would like to just ask this again. Can you give us examples of people that have seen amazing change in their lives because of arts therapies?
I think of two specific ones when you ask me that question. And one is a woman that has been trafficked, and as a child there was very extreme sexual molestation, and she started, again, you go into therapy where it's based on talk therapy, and I'm not saying talk therapy is not effective and it's not good and it doesn't have a place. Please don't misunderstand. But there's only so much you can say. And then at some point, it's kind of the expectation that now I've said this, there should be a change. And maybe there's a change to an extent. But what we found is unless you go to the emotions, unless you, with words, really go to the emotions and to the experience, complete healing is really difficult. And this woman went into a 2-year Arts Therapies Counselling process, and eventually she wrote books about it. And I've got her books, and if you look through her books, what is so mind-blowing is if you look at her drawings and paintings at the beginning, and you look at her drawings and painting at the end, it's like it's been done by two different people. And it's because without understanding it, we always put something of ourselves into our art. There's always something that we project. It is a reflection of something of our, even if it's just a part of our inner world. And if you look at the difference, it is two different people. And that in itself really helped her to see her process of healing and understand the shift that happened inside of her. And, if you look at all the different things, you can actually see the stages that she went through and what was most in the forefront for her in a different stage. I believe God also works like that. I often say to God, well, I'm past that arrogant face, but there were a time that I would often say to God, I think I'm sorted, really. I think we've done enough work here now. And then it's as if he just lifts a mirror in front of my face and says, here's another thing. We're going to work on this next. And it's hard. But God doesn't work everything at once. So there's phases and there's stages and there's different things that are in the forefront. And once more, a process of words, things sometimes just is not enough. Another example also really, really touched me is a woman that went through cancer, breast cancer, had a mastectomy. What the problem is, when we go through something like that, it is very life-changing and very hard. We don't always understand all the things that change in our lives, all the things that we are confronted with. Because to survive, we suppress. There's a lot of things that we don't even look at. And one of the exercises we did with her was a bust, Listrian bust. And we asked her to use different things, including mosaic, to do this bust. And what it was how she felt about her femininity.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting and how she feels about death, how she feels about her life now. How does she feel about other things she lost, especially in terms of her body. She would, for example, do something that will present the way people reacted to her was very hard for her. Some people reacted in a way that made her feel that they really decided she's not going to make it. They already wrote her off. She's already like a living dead. And that was harder for her than losing her breasts.
Sure.
So a lot of these things came out, and how she shifted her
Mm.
perception of herself as a woman. So, you know, and it was things that she herself didn't fully understood and realized.
Yeah, those are two very good examples. Wow. I like what you say as well. It sounds like you use different media in the process. How do you decide?
Yes.
Is it mixed media? Is it mostly drawing, painting? Yeah. How do you decide which medium to use actually?
That's where the studies come in.
Okay.
So, it's all about understanding what is possible and then make a decision on what would best for which client, not only based on what you're going through, also where you are in your process and who you are. And that's why it's so important that you have good training in the field, because there's a lot of things that you need to think about when you work with clients. And there's a lot of things you have to understand when you want to interpret and understand where people are, what they need from you at that period of time.
I hear you. What does a typical individual or a group session look like? So if I had to make an appointment as an individual, what would that session look like? Or if it was in a corporate setting or a group setting like you spoke about earlier, just tell us a bit about the process.
The focus is always the art, not on words. And that is also what makes it so amazing. So we will actually, clients come in, we won't ask them, how are they? We will ask them, what are we doing today? Because we want the focus to be the do. Especially if someone is at a very bad place. It's better for them not to have to go through the cliches of, no, I'm good, but actually I'm not. And once the clients get used to that, it actually helps them. I've got no responsibility. I don't even need to pretend I'm okay. I can just come in here and I can focus on what I'm doing. I can get lost in that. It could be more structured. It could be less structured, depending on the situation. And then there will be a lot of freedom where the client decide, how much time do I want to spend on this? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do something different? Am I okay to do this? Do I want to talk? Do I not want to talk at all? If you don't want to talk about it at all, that's okay. But if you are finished, or even while you're busy and you want to talk about it, you've got the freedom. So words are secondary, but is open. Okay, so words could come into the equation. It would be your choice, and to what extent, and if you are going to talk about it. We will always invite you to talk, but it will still be in your hands, and you will have the power.
Okay, and is that sort of what happens in an individual setting or a group setting, or is it sort of the same process in both? Yeah, if you could just clarify that for us.
Yes. Our students learn about groups and working with groups in the third year, because there are different things that come into play, and there are different kinds of groups. So some groups will be similar to an individual session. With some groups, we actually get them to work on a project together. And in that, we look at the interaction, then we facilitate the interaction. For example, if we work with a family and there's a lot of conflict in the family, unresolved things, a possible session would be where they work together on something and then discuss that. And then we will facilitate discussion. So it depends on the type of group, it depends, so it would be different. Corporate, it would be different, because it will definitely not be as personal, and the focus will automatically be more on, you don't need to share, but just focus on yourself, your inner world, and this process. And how we structure it would enable specific things to happen within that person. So yes, in a nutshell, it absolutely depends on the situation and on who and what you're working with.
Yes, that sounds so interesting, because it sort of opens what I see in my mind is all of these different settings where this could be useful. Like, for example, I think you did mention corporate, like in a business environment where people need to work together, or like you say, a family, or just, I think I also saw on your website something about events where it's sometimes part of like a conference or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. We actually had students that would, for example, organize a spa day. And then with the spa, there will also be arts therapy sessions. So it's like a look after myself day. You know, how can I maybe be a better me? How can I get to a point where I am more relaxed? All the things that stressed me, I let that go. That's a possibility. Another possibility is that some of our students arrange camps where they then integrate arts therapies in, maybe for teenagers. You know, so there are many different possibilities how you can use it. It's not only limited to individuals and to healing specifically.
Okay, so what if people are listening to this and they want to know more, and they're thinking, okay, all right, so what are my options when I want to pursue a career in arts therapies in South Africa? What does that look like for them? What are the possibilities, and are there any prerequisites?
South Africa, it is a very new field. It actually exists in America for over 50 years. That's where it was founded. But in America, it's still in its baby shoes. There's still a lot of, let's call it, differences. And they haven't sorted out what the field look like. For example, most states in America don't have registration for art therapists. So they register and work as counselors. In South Africa, it's a brand new field. It's very little has been done up to now. That's why it's not so well known. And there are two different legs in South Africa at this stage. There are people that are working towards getting things acknowledged in the system and working for unit standards that hasn't existed now. And then we started Arts Therapies Counselling training. So it's been built on two different places. And I've actually founded the Art Healing Academy in 2009. And since then, we've been training about close to 500 people already. And many of these people are either integrating it in the field, they're already working in, some of them are teachers, some of them are working at organizations, and then some of them are working solely as arts therapist counselors. They mostly have their own practices, and then, you know, through that, see people even working corporate or then doing groups, as we discussed. Now, the training that we offer is in total 24 modules that we spread. We suggest that you spread it over 4 years. At 6 modules a year. And after 6 modules, you will receive a certificate, and we can enable registration. So the registration that is eventually possible, if you do most of it, is ASCHP. That is a SAQA registered board. And then you work in South Africa as an arts therapist counselor with your studies through us, with that registration legally in South Africa, and you are protected by the ASCHP. We also, if you complete 3 years of study, you have to do about 2 extra modules. It will take you about 2 years. It's not through us, it's through an overseas university. And then they will give you a degree. At this stage is a BASW degree. Then you take it to SAQA and get accreditation for the studies you've done here in South Africa. And it's not the ideal situation. We continuously work to get accreditation. We are negotiating and working and approaching university at this stage that we can have a degree in arts therapies for our students. So it's a long road to get the accreditation and the acknowledgement that we need. But the bottom line is, with our studies, you can register, you can work legally in South Africa. And yes, we grow the field in South Africa one student at a time, and it's actually going amazingly well, and it's really growing well, and even the awareness of people out there is growing amazingly well. So we are very excited, and we'll actually be part of not the first wave, but reasonably early in this field if you actually start now. And you are then, in effect, helping to build the field and helping to, make this change and bring this amazing and powerful approach to helping people and making them aware of that, and just bring healing through that. So I think it's an amazing thing to be part of, and it's just something to be excited of and be very proud of, because I get a lot of feedback from my existing old students that are working in the field. And just the stories of healing is so uplifting. It's just so amazing to hear what is happening out there. And yes, it is possible to be part of that, because there's no prerequisites. You need matric because it's on the level of pre-degree. And we even accept that are older that doesn't do their matric, because I believe in the helping field, life experience counts so much. Your matric that you did 20 years ago or 30 years ago or didn't do doesn't make that big a difference if you are really honest about that. But life experience that you bring to the table, it comes to helping field. And I have allowed people without a matric that are older, and they are some of my most effective and people in the field, that are really, truly following their passion, making a difference. So no, we're very excited. You can find us either through, I don't know if you're going to put a link on as well, Mazan, but
yes, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, that would be wonderful. And you can also find our website, and it's Art Healing. You just need to Google Art Healing Academy.
Okay, so is it an online course, or does people go to a physical place? Is it full-time or part-time?
It's part-time, it is online, and the reason for that is to make it possible for as many people as we can, because we're so behind in this field. So many people talk to me that say it's always been their dream, it's never been possible. Now they're 40 or 50 and they want to do this. And obviously, if you have a family and you've financial obligations, it's very hard to just leave that and go into full-time studies. So we organize the course in such a way that you get everything you need. You get experiential, you get theory, you get practical, you get supervision, but that it is possible to do it online.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. Yes, we're very grateful that there is a thing like the internet that makes all of this possible. God really knew what he was doing. Lorette, tell us a bit about your own faith journey. I'm so interested to hear. You spoke a little bit about it. You gave us a taster in the beginning when we spoke about the Christian foundation and that God actually said to you that you must start this. But yeah, we'd love to hear just your testimony.
I must say, people don't often ask me this, but it's such a privilege to share. I was very young. I gave my life to God. So younger than most people, because not that, I think a lot of people have a story of I was older. For me, it was something that happened at a very young age, and I'm blessed for that. But I can actually remember experiencing the presence of God when I was about 7, 8 years old. And even since that age, I was aware of him calling me and saying, I'm going to use you to work for me. And in high school, and we actually spoke about this before this interview as well, I would say that to people. They would just, yes, wonderful, but what are you going to do with your life?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't hear me, but you don't hear me. Oh, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it doesn't sound definite or concrete, or yeah, it's not the normal route. Yeah.
Yes. And then in high school, actually, God gave me visions of working in Africa. And it was such a big thing. It was just constantly there in my life and in my mind, and the visions were repeated. And when I finished school, I said, great, now I'm going to work for God. But he had other plans. He actually said to me, no, I'm going to put you through the fire first. And it was very hard for me because, God spoke to me so much. So I was just, I just want to go. But I am actually 56 today.
Is it today? It's today or birthday?
No, not today. I mean,
this year. Okay.
Not today. Today. If I look back, I can see how many mercies God has given me. Because in this process of preparing me, I also had so many things that most of us as humans do want. I had children and I could raise them myself, and I could study different things and I could experience different things. And what were really, is the word merciful or graceful? Probably both. And I even had the opportunity to live in China for a while when China was still closed to people of the West, and they said no missionaries. And you could go to jail if you actually talked to people about Christ. That was in 1995. And in that time, doors were open that I could live there, and I could smuggle in Bible, and I could make contact with the underground church. And today I understand why all those things were necessary, and it was just part of a journey. At the same time, I also had my oldest daughter was sexually molested by her father. And that was a very traumatic thing, and it was a long, drawn-out court case. But it brought me back to how do we find healing? And understanding how hard it is, the things that people go through, that they often just feel they can't talk to anyone. So there were so many things, and I'm just mentioning one or two things, but there were so many things that God took me through. He took me through a faith journey where he actually said to me very clearly and again and again and again, this is what I want me to do. But it sounded like something crazy. I had to keep my eyes on him and stay with it and keep on believing and keep on saying, I don't want to disappoint God. I would rather do something stupid than being disobedient, not listening to him. And I just see today that all those things built things into me. It brought me to this place when, if there's a fight to fight, if there's something I have to do that maybe other people would be too scared to do, then I believe and want to trust that God has put in me what I need to go through that.
Sure.
Yes, we are. I have a ministry in Africa today, and part of that is I give training in counselling, but also in theology. And another part is that we train and send missionaries. We actually send them to the Muslim countries.
Wow.
And it's just amazing to see the hand of God. And it's just amazing to know that he has prepared me for something very specific. Like I believe he does with everybody. You listening to this today, I believe you have a specific calling. I actually have something on my fridge that says God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called.
Amen.
And therefore, I believe whatever you're going through now, whatever the desire in your heart is now, it's placed there by God. It's all part of him preparing you for a specific calling. And even if it takes time, I tend to believe, let's rather put it that way, the longer the journey, the bigger the calling. The more responsibility the job that God wants you to do is going to have. Because he doesn't need to prepare if it's an easy thing, not much anyway, but if it's an important thing that he's preparing you for. I had people that come to me and say, I'm in my 50s or in my 40s or in my 60s. I'm not too old to start now. No, you're not. You are exactly ready for it. Maybe at 20 you weren't ready. Maybe you're 20 today and you're listening. Maybe you are ready, because every person is different. Okay? So I do believe that God prepares us. He's got a journey with us, and that's what I've experienced in my own life. It took me many roads that I often felt I could explain this to people. Mazan, I know for a fact you and testify the same. And I wouldn't tell to people. I just came to realize that I tried to tell, and then I see this looks. I just came to realize that the journey God walks with every person is extremely personal. And actually, it's between me and him. So people don't need to know necessarily. You need to sit at God's feet and make sure that you're in the will of God. Make sure that your journey is right for you, and try to understand, or at least trust God fully for where he's taking you to. That where he's taking you to now is perfect part of that journey. It's sometimes hard. We as human beings, we struggle with that sometimes. That's what faith is. That is what complete trust is, So I can tell you so much more about my journey, but I think that is enough for now. And I hope that this encourages you. And, maybe you are listening to this and you need to hear this today. So I really want to encourage you, and just keep your eyes on God and just keep on taking the step and moving forward.
Amen. If you had to put in a sentence, then what your life purpose is, what would that sentence look like? And do you see yourself as a creative? Sorry, it's two questions in one, but
I see my life purpose as having a relationship with God. I think that's why God made us. He desires relationship with God. Secondly, life purpose is to try and understand Him in His will. What is His specific and plan for me? And then finally, I see my life purpose as adding value for other people, and build or add value somehow. other people's lives. Because like you said earlier, people are, well, I think that was before the interview as well, people are very important to God. You know, that's what it's all about. We are the pinnacle of his creation. And he loves us. And for him, it's about us. What's the second part again, Marjan? Sorry.
Do you see yourself as a creative?
I do. You know, but then again, yeah, and sometimes I do something and then I am astonished at how much talent God gave me. Because recently I started to try to do realistic portraits, and I am quite surprised at how close to that people I get it. So it's amazing. But at the same time, I want to say that I think we are all creators, just in different ways. You know, I can't do what you can do, and you know, you will make something that's beautiful for me, and I will not be able to do that. It comes from your inside, and I would never have thought about that. And you know, even if something is not, you can make something and decide it's not beautiful. It doesn't mean it's not, because I think anything that we create has beauty. It's like I believe all people has beauty. You know, God didn't make ugly people. He just, you know, as our human eyes, sometimes we look at people and we value them and we value their beauty. But in front of God, all people are beautiful to him. Because he looks at us in a different way. You know, he focuses on different things. My one daughter came to me when she was a teenager, and she would say, "Look at this." I would say, "What?" She would say, "Look at this." Say, what do you say, zest? I would say, "Where?" She would say, "Look, look." I would say, "I can't even see that." She went close up on the mirror and she zoomed in on that, and she only sees that. I think that's how we look at people sometimes. God doesn't. And he sees beauty in his creation. And I think everything we create as well, it has beauty, even if we don't see it. So be careful to look at human eyes. Be careful to limit yourself as I'm not good. You know, you can still create something. It will have beauty.
Well, you've just shared so much wisdom there, but I'm still going to ask you the next one and see if there's a little bit more. If I asked you to go dig out one piece of advice or wisdom from your life experience chest that you want to communicate to everyone watching, what would that be?
In terms of, if we talk about Arts Therapies Counselling, Madon, I would say to people, if it's your dream, if it's your passion, then do whatever you need to do to get there. We only have one life. We normally only have one overall passion and goal. If this is for you, your passion, if this is important for you, it has been placed in your heart, I would say do whatever you need to do to get there. I think it's a sad life if you didn't follow your passion. Now, a lot of people has got a lot of things to say about what is a life worth living. I just think for everyone, their passion is different, and for everyone, where they should be is different. The only thing that is sad is that you don't do what you were supposed to do, what you were made to do. If I talk in general, I think there are many things I can say, but I want to say this thing today. That is, I just believe we should stop worrying about what people think of us and what people believe tell us how we should live our lives. We so want to please other people that we forget to be authentic us. I always say that one of my rights is in me. God made me to be me. God made me to be a human. I'm not supposed to be an angel. I'm not supposed to be what you are. I'm not supposed to be something that will make you happy with me. I'm supposed to be authentically me. Just finding that and just kind of stop, look inside, maybe go and sit at God's feet. Someone once said, God's will is where God's peace is. I've learned that's so true. If you are one of those people that say, but I can't hear God's voice, because I now say, God, I heard his voice. You say, but I don't know how. Here's where you start. If you experience God's peace, you are in his will. His will is where his peace is. If you don't have peace, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Go and find it. Hey, give yourself permission to stop chasing things. Stop chasing acceptance from people. You are good enough. You are amazing. Just be you. Let me stop.
Wow, thank you so much. I think I needed to hear that, and everyone listening will be able to relate to what you're saying. Just what a great chat. Thank you so much, Lorette. I just want to repeat for people again how people can connect with you and how they can get in touch if they want to find out more, or maybe if they want to sign up for the course. Just tell us again, please.
Yes. They are very welcome. You can search us on Google or on Facebook, Art Healing Academy, or you can send an email to info@arthealingacademy, one word, .co.za. And yes, you'll find us, or search me, Lorette Dye. I'm also on Facebook. Email me and chat, and we can work from there. I also just want to say from my side, thank you so much, Mazan. It was really a pleasure. And it was just a blessing for me as well.
Oh, thank you so much. For everyone listening, we'll be sure to put all of those information in the show notes, so you can just look down there. Thank you so much. Thanks, Lorette. You must have a wonderful day further, and I hope we can do this again soon. Keep well.
Yes, absolutely. Be blessed.